The passage from one year to another is a universal symbolic milestone, full of cultural, spiritual, and psychological meanings. For some people, it represents the transition between the past and the future, providing an opportunity for renewal, reflection, and celebration. Eventually, the year that begins serves as a target for many important things that we failed to do throughout the previous year. Who has never made or knows someone who makes a New Year's promise, like, I didn't make it this year, but next year I'll start dieting and exercising? But sometimes these promises are just vague words, excuses to push forward important activities that we don't want to do now. Did you identify? Do you also postpone important tasks until the next week, month, or year, and instead choose to spend your time on less important tasks? Calm down, you're not the only one. Today we're going to talk about procrastination, provide a way to overcome it, and make the 365 days of next year opportunities to do things differently. You have a very important task to do, but before you start, you postpone it to do something less important instead, even though you know the negative consequences it will bring. Did this sound familiar? Know that this attitude has a name. It's called procrastination. It is more present in our daily lives and often goes unnoticed. Want to see a more concrete example? Imagine you need to read a book for an important test. However, you put off reading it, making excuses like, I'll start reading tomorrow because it's sunny today and I need to go to the beach. Or this weekend I need to buy new clothes at the mall, so I start reading the book next weekend. It turns out that postponing this activity reduces the time you have to read the book and can have a direct impact on your approval of the important test. We have to understand that we all procrastinate at some point. Generally, we tend to postpone tasks that are not pleasant or pleasurable. Procrastinating is part of the human experience, and it is not always necessary to resolve all the procrastinations in our lives. However, it becomes a problem when the negative consequences of procrastinating are significant or have a considerable impact on our lives. There are chronic procrastinators who never manage to perform a task or never finish it in a way that harms that person's life, relationships, work, studies, and often even their self-esteem and perception of self-efficacy. But what makes someone procrastinate? Procrastination is always an intentional decision. In other words, you know you're doing something that is less important than you should be doing. I'm not saying it's easy to control. After all, who's never put off a difficult or unpleasant task? Procrastination starts with an important but unwanted task. Go through beliefs that lead you to procrastinate, such as, I don't know if this will work. I don't have the energy to do this today, or I don't have the necessary knowledge for this task. These beliefs increase the perception of discomfort from the unwanted task. Then, excuses are used that justify beliefs such as, I will do it when I am more willing. I need to study more before starting the task. Finally, leisure activities are chosen, washing dishes, watching a movie, sending messages to friends, among others that will be carried out instead of performing the initial task. So before continuing with the video, don't procrastinate and leave your like. Procrastinating or not being able to use time effectively doesn't just happen to ordinary people like you and me. Here are 3 celebrities who also put off until tomorrow what they could do today. Tibet's head of state, Nobel Peace Prize winner and spiritual leader of millions of Buddhists around the world, Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama, is a tireless defender of human rights and justice. However, he has previously reported that he used to be quite lazy when it came to his studies and would only try hard at the last minute. One of the most important Italian artists of the Renaissance period, Leonardo da Vinci, is widely recognized for his incredible artistic production. But the reality is that he began several projects without completing them. His famous Mona Lisa took 16 years to complete, while another of his paintings, The Virgin of the Rocks, took 13 years. Once his benefactor had to threaten him with bankruptcy to get him to finish a commissioned work. Even today, many of Da Vinci's creations that we know and love remain unfinished, reflecting his tendency to procrastinate. Our third and final character on the list is a big name in Western literature. Frenchman Victor Hugo demonstrated his procrastinating nature in the process of writing one of his most famous works. He had made a deal with his publisher that he would write a book titled The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Instead of writing this book, Victor Hugo spent the following year dedicating himself to other projects and other things that delayed his writing. His editor, frustrated with Victor's procrastination, set a deadline of less than 6 months for the book to be finished. To overcome his procrastination, Victor developed a plan. He gathered all his clothes and locked them up, so he was left with nothing to wear except a large shawl. This way, without suitable clothes to go out, Victor Hugo was no longer tempted to leave the house and be distracted. Staying inside and writing was his only option. The strategy worked, and the book was published 2 weeks before the stipulated deadline. A new year begins, and with it, 365 opportunities to do something different from what we are used to doing. First of all, we need to make a commitment to ourselves. We have to want to change the game and stop procrastinating. Without this desire, everything becomes more difficult. If you are in the mood for change, I will suggest a strategy on how to achieve it. But don't worry, it's much less radical than the one used by Victor Hugo. Before moving on, I will offer you a reflection. What's the last goal or task you put off? Was it possible within the desired time frame? I ask this because we often give up and procrastinate on a goal or task because it is too big for the deadline we set. For example, there are people who want to lose 70 kilograms in 30 days. Is it feasible? There may even be people who can do it, but for the vast majority of people, this is impossible. So my suggested strategy is to divide your big goals or tasks into smaller pieces that are easier to achieve. The sum of each piece will lead you to achieving the desired goal or task. For example, running 40 kilometers in one go is harder to do than if you divide the 40 kilometers into 5 kilometers chunks that can be run on different days. Added to this, it is important to value every 5 kilometers you travel. Now it's up to you. Choose your goal or task for the year, and if it's too big, break it into smaller pieces. Then just start the year by executing what was planned. And you, what have you been procrastinating in your life? Share your story in the comments. If this video made sense to you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, a new year is full of opportunities to overcome procrastination.